It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Call me Ishmael. To be or not to be, that is the question. Quoth the raven, nevermore. There are famous ones, the ones drilled into our minds from childhood, the ones we memorize before we even know their context. And then there are ones lesser known, but are ones no less. When I am king, they shall not have bread and shelter only, but also teachings out of books, for a full belly is little worth where the mind is starved. There is a wisdom of the head, and there is a wisdom of the heart. Not being heard is no reason for silence. I like that one. Something about words and their presence, the respect they command. It's an abstract force inside of the human identity that is vulnerable yet powerful. Since we are helpless without language, needing its service to merely exist alongside others, language then makes slaves of us all. Literature then becomes freedom, and whoever's voice is best understood by others is a voice that becomes the most valuable asset. The victory belongs not to the biggest man, nor the strongest man. The battle is not won by the man with the most money, nor he with the most weapons. It will not be won by the man most handsome or most popular. No, gentlemen, the victory goes to the man who lives in the bigger world. Thus Sandro Sebastian presents here a video from his publishing company, Boys Bleed. Let us delve into a lecture and decide whose voice we hear the most clearly. And yes, this reading thing is something that we have to make time for. It's something that one must make a priority and possibly even cancel other plans. Heaven forbid. It's not just some leisurely autopilot activity that you do at the end of the day in order to wind down, like watching television. Our brains are tricked into thinking that reading books is supposed to feel like the same exercise as watching television. So when books fail to behave like television psychologically, we deem it a waste of time. Books are just a more slow, less bouncy, less snazzy version of television. We are using TV as the standard for some reason, even though books existed first, okay? And the standard for television has never been high. It's always been cheesy nonsense just to kill time between commercials. That's why we have television, by the way, is because of commercials. In the 1950s, when they saw how much sales were boosted by visually seeing a person use the product on screen, they decided the future would be a television in every home. What a coincidence. But why we use the television or movie watching experience to judge what makes good literature, I'll never know. It's not the same part of your psychology you are engaging with for each respective pastime. What makes a good television program isn't what makes a good book. And when you blend the two in your mind, you further lose the ability to tell the difference between something that is real and something that is fake. The reason people don't like reading is because we teach people to read the wrong way. It is not a passive exercise. It is an active one. You are practicing concentrating and practicing focusing. It's to train that part of your brain that you need in life. When you have to focus and decide what you are looking at here. The part of life that is not lived on autopilot. Television, movies, and the pop music on the drive home from work are all designed for the autopilot side of life, so someone else out there can get paid. But, to not sound judgmental of those who produce popular content, it is a skill set all its own, that not everybody has. I can't do it. If I could, I'd be making a lot more money. I would just be less interesting to watch. And, in that field of popular content, the people that do it for a living, we can see that most of them are only so-so at it. When someone really has the knack for placing their finger on the pulse, as it were, knowing what's hot and slick and sexy right here, right now, and packaging it in something catchy for us to consume, something that gives that immediate satisfaction. When someone is good at that, it does stand out, because we can see from the fountain of mediocre rubbish released every year that it apparently is not as easy as it looks. Ooh. It's just that not everyone is that obsessed with money. That's why I fell in love with reading. Even if I don't like reading, I definitely love it. It was when I saw how much better it made me at critical thinking and seeing through other people's bullshit. It makes you more secure in yourself, more self-confident, so people can't mess with your head as easily. You get better at sticking up for yourself against people who are emotionally manipulative. It should be considered a form of self-defense, not unlike learning martial arts or purchasing a firearm. It's just defending the part of your being that is not physical. This life is a battle to constantly feel appropriate about yourself. If you're young, you haven't spent that much time around other adults who are not your parents or the teachers at school, the grown-ups who are not legally required to protect your mental health and foster your development. When you're out there on your own, and any random weirdo can walk up to you and conduct themselves however shamelessly, when that starts to happen, you need to decide whether or not this is normal, or do I set boundaries with this, or how do I not let this rub off on me? What kind of personality disorder am I dealing with here? And you watch other people do this with you when you are the one who is being inappropriate. It dawns on you years later like, okay, I see why those people back then didn't let me act like that. I would have kicked me out too. I don't think they hated me or anything. It's just that they had to focus there and I was being a nuisance. I was young and didn't quite know what was going on. I don't blame them. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. When it does, just remember, that's why Jesus forgives. Reading helps you deal with this side of being human. Answers you can't find on television or in movies or pop music, and life decisions you can't make by searching on Google. Also, I have found that reading also comes in handy if you have to defend yourself verbally or argue a point against someone off the cuff with no time to prepare, and you need to verbalize your point of view on the spot. Reading really helps you organize your thoughts and express them so another person can follow you more easily. Especially if we are debating something important. If it's some issue where there's a lot at stake, and I can't afford to lose this one, or I have to explain to this person that they are confused and don't know what they're doing, especially if someone might get hurt. I can think of specific standoffs I've had over the years with men and women, with family members and general associates, where I had to defend myself on the spot or verbalize an issue I'm having with someone inappropriate, and I know they're not going to like it, and I know that they are going to argue back. But if you are good with words and articulating thoughts, you can go into it with confidence and with politeness to minimize any hurt feelings. Important. The more you read, it also increases your ability to look at it from the other person's perspective while you debate, so you can predict how they will respond, or what their blind spots are, so you can explain what they are not seeing here. Yes, I have specific memories of specific standoffs with people who were trying to mess with my head or manipulate me, and I walked away thinking, thank God I was an English minor when I was an undergrad, forced me to see the benefits of reading, which I previously did not know. So even after completing my bachelor's degree, I kept it up. I would not have been able to see through that person's bullshit otherwise, and that thing we were debating was important. Whoa, man, hold on a second there. Let's reconsider this. Francis Xavier once said, no, I'm kidding. You don't have to quote anybody. Don't be a nerd. But I notice, if you can be the guy in the room that sounds like he reads when he talks, it helps to earn the respect of everyone else in the room. If the issue at stake comes down to a judgment call, and we have to decide whose judgment we trust, we are more likely to trust the guy who sounds like he reads when he talks. I know this because that's who I tend to trust when the judgment call happens to not be my decision and I have to support someone else decide who to give my endorsement to, if you will. I don't trust the guy that barks out information like a dog or only uses short little words in an incomprehensible jumble. No. Especially if this is important. Remember, gentlemen, you don't have to read every single book in the library from A to Z. You just have to read enough to know how to sound like you read when you talk. It doesn't take much. And it helps with the ladies too, as you might imagine. You can't do anything about your looks, and your income is based on wherever you were born, and what kind of education you had access to, and what kind of professional contacts and references. And we know they keep all of that locked up to themselves up top these days. But even if you can't help your looks, and can only do so much about your income, if you sound like you read when you talk, and create a nice atmosphere, and see into the human identity a little bit more than the average person, it makes it a safe space to feel pretty in front of you, if you will. It helps a woman feel desired by you, and by this arrangement, whatever it is. Not that you gentlemen don't know this, but it can never be overstated that with women, charming is better than handsome. Easily. Any day. Handsome doesn't hurt, but looks are subjective anyway. It's an emotion that we don't have, fellas. Feeling pretty, feeling feminine, like someone setting aside resources and effort to make me feel pampered and protected. This helps a woman decide what man to be with if she's smart. If she's dumb, then let her end up a single mom with someone else's kid. Enjoy being stranded with the weirdos we haven't caught yet. I don't take orders from someone's bratty little teenage daughter. Just a quick bit of general self-defense advice in the intellectual realm, the side of life that's about willpower and not physical strength. Most people in the world today suffer from some sort of severe inferiority complex. They have the minds of children and feel at the mercy of the adults. Like the grown-ups only have rules because they want to ruin my fun, so I have to rebel. I have to try and get away with something. We're all like that when we're kids, but later in life we realize that the grown-ups don't really make the rules. The rules of being a society are just what they are. The grown-ups just enforce the rules so that we don't all die screaming. Actions have consequences you don't realize when you're young. But some people never make it that far in their mind. They still have the mind of a bratty little teenager that thinks I need to get one over on the grown-ups. So, in argument, you are allowed to say the phrase, you don't need to try and get away with something. There is nothing to be gotten away with. Chill. Especially if you're an adult man and have people counting on you now. You get into your 30s and realize, oh shit, remember what the adult men looked like to you when you were a kid? Well, that's how the kids see you now. So now you're supposed to make people feel safe and secure, like you've got it handled if something happens, in case of emergency, because they're helpless without you. As an adult man, the reason I read is because I can't afford to be a gullible son of a bitch that just believes whatever the last person said, like most people do these days. No way, man. I gotta start making up my own mind about shit because people will say anything. It's amazing. Physically taking advantage of somebody by beating them up or physically kidnapping them or murdering them, that is against the law. I can arrest someone and have them put in jail for physically taking advantage of someone. But there are no laws against mentally taking advantage of someone or being emotionally manipulative. It's not illegal to play mind games with people. That's why people are so shameless about doing it. Not all abuse is physical, ladies. Guess I'm heading to the library this weekend. See you there. There are characters in books that are described in detail, but not descriptive detail, not direct detail, in where an author might list features one after another and thereby render the full figure for you. There's a way of rendering characters through behaviors alone and dramatic use in the plot. A personality type might serve the overall dramatic tension in a unique way, a way in which only he or she can. Herman Melville's Moby Dick, the 1851 published American novel, has a first-person narrator called Ishmael, as he instructs us, yet the main meat of the story isn't about him, his internal conflict or journey, struggle or awakening. He is a guide through the events only, and the opening line, "Call me Ishmael," gives a friendly command to the reader, inviting us into a familiar space. The command puts a hand on your shoulder and lets you know to relax. It's all good here, man. Captain Ahab serves more the purpose of mysterious, juicy, domineering character throughout the book. Though he's given less time on the page, the internal struggle he has in hunting for the titular character shines an illuminating light into a personality completely obscure to us. I mean, the scene in which Captain Ahab is introduced is a scene he's not even in. It's another character telling Ishmael what kind of guy you're asking for.
"And what dost thou want of Captain Ahab? It's all right enough. Thou art shipped."
"Yes, but I should like to see him."
"But I don't think thou wilt be able to at present. I don't know exactly what's the matter with him, but he keeps close inside the house, a sort of sick, and yet he don't look so. In fact, he ain't sick. But no, he isn't well either. Anyhow, young man, he won't always see me, so I don't suppose he will thee. He's a queer man, Captain Ahab, so some think, but a good one. Oh, thou'lt like him well enough. No fear, no fear. He's a grand, ungodly, godlike man, Captain Ahab. Doesn't speak much, but when he does speak, then you may well listen. Mark ye, be forewarned, Ahab's above the common. Ahab's been in colleges as well as among the cannibals, been used to deeper wonders than the waves, fixed his fiery lance in mightier, stranger foes than whales. His lance! Aye, the keenest and surest that, out of all our isle. Oh, he ain't Captain Bildad, no, and he ain't Captain Peleg. He's Ahab, boy, and Ahab of old, thou knowest, was a crowned king."
At this point, the juiciest, most tragic character is still mostly obscure, and fleshed out only in hazy notions of his personal history, packaged in this "don't F with Ahab" speech. Then there's the explanation of his motivation in this hunt. Ahab's first mate questions him. "Vengeance on a dumb brute," cried Starbuck, "that simply smote thee from blindest instinct? Madness. To be enraged with a dumb thing, Captain Ahab, seems blasphemous." And then Ahab, of course, not trying to hear that, gives one of the most badass responses in the history of literature.
"Hark ye yet again, the little lower layer. All visible objects, man, are but pasteboard masks, but in each event, in the living act, the undoubted deed there, some unknown but still reasoning thing puts forth the moldings of its features from behind the unreasoning mask. If man will strike, strike through the mask. How can the prisoner reach outside except by thrusting through the wall? To me, the white whale is that wall, shoved near to me. Sometimes I think there's naught beyond, but 'tis enough. He tasks me, he heaps me. I see in him outrageous strength, with an inscrutable malice sinewing it. That inscrutable thing is chiefly what I hate. And be the white whale agent, or be the white whale principal, I will wreak that hate upon him. Talk not to me of blasphemy, man. I'd strike the sun if it insulted me."
There's something universally relatable, at least among male readers, about watching a man deal with being emasculated. Ahab's lost his leg, and can't figure out who to punch in the face for it. It can be hard when you feel someone laughing at you somewhere, even though that's not happening. But it's compelling to see the madness overtaking him all the same. The motivation in this man is completely irrational. He just needs him some poetic justice. And the rant continues with another description of Ahab's unhingedness, projecting all evil itself onto the beast.
"The white whale swam before him as the monomaniac incarnation of all those malicious agencies which some deep men feel eating them. till they're living on with half a heart and half a lung. That intangible malignity, which has been from the beginning, to whose dominion even the modern Christians ascribe one half of the worlds, which the ancient Ophites of the East reverenced in their statue devil. Ahab did not fall down and worship it like them, but deliriously transferring its idea to, he abhorred white whale. He pitted himself, all mutilated against it. All that most maddens and torments, all that stirs up the lees of things, all truth with malice in it, all that cracks the sinews and cakes the brain, all the subtle demonisms of life and thought, all evil, to crazy Ahab, were visibly personified and made practically assailable in Moby Dick. He piled upon the whale's white hump the sum of all the general rage and hate felt by his whole race from Adam down, and then, as if his chest had been a mortar, he burst his hot hard shell upon it.
And, shockingly, there's one passage, only one in the whole book, where we actually depart from Ishmael's perspective and receive a soliloquy from Ahab himself, seated in private in his quarters. This is an event that the narrator couldn't have witnessed, and we catch a glimpse beyond the stony exterior, a moment of real vulnerability.
Yonder, by the ever-brimming goblets for him, the warm waves blush like wine. The gold brow plumbs the blue. The diver sun, slow-dived from noon, goes down. My soul mounts up. She wearies with her endless hill. Is then the crown too heavy that I wear? This iron crown of Lombardy, yet is it bright with many a gem? I, the wearer, see not its far flashings, but darkly feel that I wear that dazzlingly confounds. 'Tis iron that I know, not gold. 'Tis split, too, that I feel. The jagged edge galls me so. My brain seems to beat against the solid metal. Aye, steel skull mine, the sort that needs no helmet in the most brain-battering fight. Dry heat upon my brow. Oh, time was when as the sunrise nobly spurred me, so the sunset soothed. No more. This lovely light, it lights not me. All loveliness is anguish to me, since I can ne'er enjoy. Gifted with high perception, I lack the low, enjoying power, damned, most subtly and most malignantly, damned in the midst of paradise. Good night. Good night.
The moment away from the crew, the mask drops, and we get a true sense of a man plummeted into a pit of loneliness by way of loss of dignity. A tender look at our deepest character, whose mission is the journey's purpose. Yet he receives little attention throughout the story. Ishmael, we might say, stands in a bit of contrast to the legendary Ahab. His plight isn't quite so dramatic, exhilarating, or unique. He just set sail because his life on land was dweeby and uninteresting. Sure, he's good enough as a narrator, but there isn't anything remarkable about him. The reader just needs someone to render Ahab. But an unexpected feature of Moby Dick, as a literary work, is the portion of it dedicated to whaling as a profession, and Ishmael feeling a kinship with whalers, defending their honor.
As Queequeg and I are now fairly embarked in this business of whaling, and as this business of whaling has somehow come to be regarded among landsmen as a rather unpoetical and disreputable pursuit, therefore I am all anxiety to convince ye landsmen, of the injustice hereby done to us hunters of whales. In the first place, it may be deemed almost superfluous to establish the fact that among people at large, the business of whaling is not accounted on a level with what are called the liberal professions. If a stranger were introduced into any miscellaneous metropolitan society, it would but slightly advance the general opinion of his merits were he presented to the company as a harpooner, say, and if in emulation of the naval officers, he should append the initial SWF, sperm whale fishery, to his visiting card, such a procedure would be deemed preeminently presuming and ridiculous. Doubtless a leading reason why the world declines honoring us whalemen is this. They think that, at best, our vocation amounts to a butchering sort of business, and that when actively engaged therein, we are surrounded by all manner of defilements. Butchers we are, that is true, but butchers also, and butchers of the bloodiest badge, have been all martial commanders, whom the world invariable delights to honor. And as for the matter of the alleged uncleanliness of our business, ye shall soon be initiated into certain facts hitherto pretty generally unknown, and which, upon the whole, will triumphantly plant the sperm whale ship at least among the cleanliest things of this tidy earth. But even granting the charge in question to be true, what disordered, slippery decks of a whale ship are comparable to the unspeakable carrion of those battlefields from which so many soldiers return to drink in all ladies' plaudits? And if the idea of peril so much enhances the popular conceit of the soldier's profession, let me assure ye that many a veteran who has freely marched up to a battery would quickly recoil at the apparition of the sperm whale's vast tail, fanning into eddies the air over his head. For what are the comprehensible terrors of man compared with the interlinked terrors and wonders of God?
That's right. You tell him, Ishmael. Those who deny that whalers face true peril, well, you've never faced a whale's tail out in the open sea. Respect the whalers, man. Funny to see dude sticking up for whalers when he joined the crew like a week ago. But you know, you gotta stick up for the homies. Can't have no disrespect.
But this is not the half. Look again.
Uh-oh.
I freely assert that the cosmopolite philosopher cannot, for his life, point out one single peaceful influence which within the last 60 years has operated more potentially upon the whole broad world, taken in one aggregate, than the high and mighty business of whaling. One way or another, it has begotten events so remarkable in themselves, and so continuously momentous in their sequential issues, that whaling may well be regarded as that Egyptian mother who bore offspring, themselves pregnant from her womb. It would be a hopeless, endless task to catalogue all these things. Let a handful suffice. For many years past, the whale ship has been the pioneer in ferreting out the remotest and least known parts of the earth. She has explored seas and archipelagos which had no chart, where no Cook of Vancouver had ever sailed. If American and European men of war now peacefully ride in once savage harbors, let them fire salutes to the honor and the glory of the whale ship, which originally showed them the way, first interpreted between them and the savages. They may celebrate as they will the heroes of exploring expeditions, your Cooks, your Cruisensterns, but I say that scores of anonymous captains have sailed south of Nantucket that were as great and greater than your Cook and Cruisenstern. For in the succorless empty-handedness, they, in the heathenish, sharked waters, and by the beaches of unrecorded Javelin Islands, battled with virgin wonders and terrors that Cook, with all his marines and muskets, would not willingly have dared. All that has made such a flourish of in the old South Sea voyages, those things were but the lifetime commonplaces of our heroic Nantucketers. Often, adventurers which Vancouver dedicates 3 chapters to, these men accounted unworthy of being set down in the ship's common log. Ah, the world! Oh, the world.
You never get tired of being surprised by these classic novels. You get lost in one and realize, damn, no wonder this is famous. And all the voiceover artists I hire love it. You can't not feel like a badass reading this stuff aloud. I find it comparable to reading the Bible and experiencing it. Even if you're some cynic who doesn't agree with it or believe in it, don't be that numbskull that can't understand at least why it's famous, or why people let it influence their thinking. No, it won't answer every single last one of my questions, but neither does anything. So don't hate me for going with this. When something is a cultural phenomenon, be it artistic, philosophical, political, or religious, there's generally a reason for it. As far as Herman Melville's masterpiece, Moby Dick, it performs what special task that Sandro Sebastian believes makes it a masterpiece, and that is, when sifting through it, you wish it could go on forever. There's even that line about whalers encountering the savages. If American and European men of war now peacefully ride in once savage harbors, let them fire salutes to the honor and the glory of the whale ship, which originally showed them the way, and first interpreted between them and the savages. At a sentiment like that, the person of color in me is halted a moment, remembering this was written in the 19th century, and back then, them white folk wasn't having it. But the artist in me stays engaged like, this is a beautiful work of art. It's so good. But remember, The author is not someone I have to live with, or work in an office with, or send my kids to school with his kids. Hell of a writer, though. All of this is no less fantastic at opening up my mind, though. And let's talk about how crucial that is in today's world. A life lived in contemporary society, carved out for you to squeeze into from your day of arrival from your mother's womb, we've got everything we need you to do, and are ready to program it into you. Just listen to all the pop music on the daily commute to and from work, come home and watch a little TV, surf the internet. Let us program you to do what we need you to do. Have a little beer, smoke a little weed, find someone cute to have sex with to prove how cool you are. Because you're totally getting one over on the other person. You're just that awesome. It's not like the other person is here for the same reason or anything. Go you. You might watch yourself do all that and think, I'm pretty nifty. I got my one-size-fits-all education, to work in my little cubby of a job, drink a little beer, smoke a little weed, have my little cutie to have sex with to prove how cool I am, because I'm totally getting one over on this person. It's not like they are here for the same reason or anything. And in the movies I watch, I see all the on-screen people looking nifty doing the stuff I do, so I must look nifty in real life while I'm doing it. But this Sandro Sebastian guy tells me I need to read a book or something, or look at art made by people outside of my think space, outside of my current setting, like it's somehow valuable to spend time doing things that are not about me. Ew. Why would I do that when I'm so nifty? I can't say I appreciate this Sandro Sebastian character, who suggests I may not be so nifty as I fancy myself. I've got my little skill set, my social life, drink a little beer, smoke a little weed, and have sex with a little cute person to prove how cool I am, just like what the movies show, and what they sing about in the pop music on the drive to and from work every day. What more do I need? Next, this Sandro Sebastian fool will no doubt suggest that I attend some church service, like I need to know God or be granted forgiveness, like there's some sort of design to the universe, not just some static object, but has a plan and purpose of some sort. This Sandro Sebastian fellow would have me believe that, no doubt. It's too bad. He just doesn't know how nifty I am. The people showing me the movies and the television and internet, they tell me I'm nifty for what I do with my life. And if they say it, it must be true. Oh, Sandro. And all these black and brown people living in the third world countries not smart enough to be capitalists. It's clear they're simply not as nifty as me. I mean, they have access to all the same resources and opportunities I do, but blame me for somehow committing crimes against humanity and exploiting them for their labor for centuries, and funneling the wealth into my own community. They clearly seek to justify their own laziness. But I've decided that people are simply not capable of doing that to each other, so they are mistaken. Because if that's how I got here, to my level of niftiness, I'd look like some silly cartoon character living in a contrived, manufactured alternate reality afforded me by my privilege, and I don't wish to see myself as some silly-looking contrived alternate reality cartoon character in a bubble of privilege. I prefer to see myself as quite nifty. I shall therefore not be accepting the criticism, because if that were the state of affairs, the movie and television people would tell me, I'm sure, or the pop music to and from work. Spending time with another individual's imagination, learning to see what others see in humanity, in the abstract side of human being, described in stories, making that study sheds new light on your own abstract existence and gains you a new perspective. I think our tendency towards self-centeredness comes from that assumption I mentioned earlier about all storytelling, this mistake of believing that the character receiving the most attention is the most important character. Since we experience our own lives from one perspective only, all day, every day, we designate ourselves as the most important character, because of me receiving the most attention by the plot, as it were. But to read about another's life or worldview, or hang out in someone else's imagination, you're treated to the always intimidating, yet never not invigorating realization of how small you are, becoming more secure in yourself along the way, and getting you ready to face the adult world like a grown-up.